I fell in love with my professor. Then I learned who he really was. I thought the hardest part of college would be passing my final exams. I was wrong. The hardest part was falling in love with the one man I could never have. Professor Daniel Carter. Brilliant, calm, kind. The man who made me believe good people still existed. But everything changed the night I found a locked file hidden inside his office. Inside were photographs of me as a child, my name, my birthday, details about my parents' deaths, and one handwritten sentence that made my blood run cold. She must never know the truth. At that moment, I realized something terrifying. I had never truly known the man I loved. My name is Emily Parker. When I started studying law at Westbridge University, I thought I was finally leaving my painful childhood behind. My parents had supposedly died in a car accident when I was 12, and my grandmother raised me alone. She rarely spoke about them, always saying, "Some memories are too painful." Professor Carter quickly became the most respected teacher on campus. He was strict but fair, and every lecture felt inspiring. I admired him more than I wanted to admit. Over the months, we spoke after class about law, justice, and life. He always remained professional, yet sometimes he looked at me with an expression that felt strangely familiar, almost guilty. Everything changed one rainy evening. I returned to his office to collect a notebook I had forgotten. That's when I found the file. Before I could close it, the office door opened. Professor Carter stood there. His face turned white. "Emily," he whispered. "You weren't supposed to see that." I demanded an explanation. Instead of becoming angry, he quietly unlocked the office door and stepped away. "You can leave," he said softly. "But if you do, you'll never learn what really happened to your parents." I froze. "My parents died in an accident." He slowly shook his head. "No, they were murdered." My entire world collapsed. Professor Carter revealed that before becoming a professor, he had been a federal prosecutor. My father had secretly helped investigators expose a huge corruption network involving powerful businessmen and government officials. Just days before he was supposed to testify in court, my parents' car brakes were sabotaged. Their deaths had been carefully planned. The investigation failed. The criminals disappeared. I couldn't believe him. I rushed to my grandmother's house and confronted her. The moment she saw the documents, she burst into tears. "It's true," she whispered. She admitted that the government had begged her to keep the truth secret to protect me. Every lie she had ever told was meant to keep me alive. For the first time in 14 years, I learned who my parents really were. The next morning, I met Professor Carter again. He confessed something else. 6 months earlier, investigators had discovered that someone connected to my parents' case had enrolled at Westbridge University under a fake identity. That's why he had accepted a teaching position there. Finding me as one of his students had been pure coincidence. "I tried to stay away from you," he admitted, "but I couldn't ignore who you were." Before I could answer, everything became even worse. That night, someone broke into my apartment. Nothing valuable was taken. The intruder searched only for the investigation files. Whoever had murdered my parents knew the truth was coming back. The FBI immediately became involved. Their investigation led to one shocking discovery. A graduate student named Marcus Vale had been living under a false identity. His father had been one of the businessmen my own father was preparing to expose years earlier. Marcus had enrolled at the university to destroy the last remaining evidence. When agents attempted to arrest him, he tried to flee the campus. They caught him before he could escape. The evidence found in his possession reopened the entire investigation. Soon, more arrests followed. Former officials confessed. Hidden bank accounts were uncovered. The corruption network finally collapsed after 14 years. During the trial, Professor Carter testified for hours. Then he revealed the secret he had carried all those years. The government document containing my family's protected location had left his office. Although another employee leaked the information, it had happened under his authorization. He had blamed himself every single day since my parents died. I couldn't save them, he told the court, but I promised I would never stop searching for the truth. His honesty helped convict everyone responsible. Finally, the court officially declared my parents innocent victims of murder. My father's name was cleared forever. After the trial ended, I found Professor Carter standing alone outside the courthouse. He looked exhausted. "The truth is finally yours," he said quietly. "Now you can live the life your parents wanted for you." I smiled sadly. For a long time, I thought I fell in love with my professor. He looked down without saying a word. But now I realize I fell in love with the man who spent 14 years trying to fix one terrible mistake. He shook his head. "I don't deserve that." "Maybe not," I answered. "But everyone deserves a second chance." 2 years later, I stood outside my first courtroom as a newly appointed prosecutor. The same dream that had once belonged to my father had become mine. As I walked toward the courtroom doors, Daniel was waiting nearby. He smiled. "Ready?" I looked at the courtroom filled with people waiting for justice. Then I smiled back. This time, I'm the one protecting the truth. Together we walked down the courthouse hallway, not as professor and student, not as strangers connected by tragedy, but as two people who had finally left the past behind. Sometimes love begins with admiration. Sometimes it begins with heartbreak. Ours began with the truth. And this time, the truth set us both free.